What's up, everybody? I'm anthonyk of Sports Fluent. He's Jermaine from Chilltown Hoops. Together, we're Fluent and Chill. Jermaine, how you doing, man?
Daryl, what up, brother?
I love, we're getting into it. I told you this before. I love week 2 because it disproved everything we thought that was happening in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think of week 2, what stood out to you the most?
Well, when I think about week 2, I think about what happened the previous week, and are we going to see the same thing from the same players? Was it a fluke? And the one thing that stood out to me the most was Sam Darnold. And the reason why Sam Darnold stood out to me the most, Tone, is because I'm looking at this Carolina team, and everybody talks about, well, same old Jameis, same Jameis. We are aware that Carolina, as of today, they got the best defense in the game. They got the best pass defense in the game. They got the best rush defense in the game. And I know it's week 2, but this team looks like they are the real deal. They got a bunch of cast-offs on defense, a lot of guys that you can't name, especially in that secondary, but they're really good back there. They're really good in coverage. Those guys hit hard, and I can't be happier for Sam Darnold than I am. Because the more I watch Zach Wilson, I'm thinking to myself, they're going to ruin this kid. And the best thing that could have happened to Sam Darnold was getting out of there because they're going to ruin that kid.
And we talked about it in the offseason where we said, listen, we both were really high on Sam Darnold. We feel like the Jets, I think it was Adam Gase, right? It was just the talent around him wasn't very good. Yep. And you're seeing the same thing from Zach Wilson. And listen, I'm not saying the new head coach there, Soleil, is Adam Gase. I'm not suggesting that. However, he doesn't really have a lot of talent around him. He doesn't have a running game, like a solid running game. And he's, let's be honest, he's a rookie who's been asked to throw the ball way too much. And he's trying to do too much because he feels he has to.
Absolutely.
You're seeing the same thing in Jacksonville, where for some unknown reason they're trying to throw the ball 50 times a game, which is a recipe for disaster with a rookie QB. And now to your point about Carolina, we just said, hey, you give him some pieces. He's got a pretty good piece there in what's that running back's name? Oh, yeah, Christian McCaffrey, one of the best running backs in the league, right? DJ Moore looks good. And Sam Darnold's looking good. And here's the interesting part. There's only 7 teams left. In week 2, there's only 7 undefeated teams left. Carolina's one of them. And they got the who do they have this week? I think they had They got the Texans tonight.
That's correct.
That without, not that with them they're that dangerous, but without Tyrod Taylor.
No Tyrod Taylor tonight.
So
David Hill tonight.
David Hill and the Texans. As long as they don't take this as an easy win, they could be 3-0 by Friday. That's a big one.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go with 1 because this is a team that I picked to win the AFC, to be in the Super Bowl, to unseat the champs, to beat the Chiefs. The Buffalo Bills didn't look great in week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They looked a little bit better against the Dolphins. 35 nothing. And this is a defense that is supposed to be pretty good.
Yes.
Right? We praised the Dolphins defense, and the Bills came out and looked like that team that's going to not only win their division, but contest for a Super Bowl spot. So that's my big one, was the Bills coming out and just, playing phenomenal. Just, they looked great in all facets of the game, not like the team we saw in week 1. I said this to you. I said week 1, because it's a 17-week season, I said some teams are going to look like it was a preseason. I think that's what we saw.
I think that's what we saw too. And I will tell you this too, Tone. I think we underestimate how big that was with Buffalo. It was the largest shutout that the Dolphins had since 1966. They hadn't been shut out like that since. So we're talking almost 60 years since they had been shut out like that. So it's bad enough to shut a team out, no points on the board, but to completely blow a team out by, 5 touchdowns, man, that was really impressive.
And keep this in mind. 60 years, like you said, but they also played in a division with the New England Patriots for 20, where they weren't very good, and the Patriots were exceptional, and they never took a loss like that.
They were the class of that division with Tom Brady, and they never got smoked like that, not one time.
So that's my big one. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, because this will lead into this week, because we already talked about Tyrod Taylor being out. There's a lot of injured quarterbacks. Tyrod Taylor's out. Andy Dalton is out. Ben Roethlisberger is hurt. Carson Wentz is hurt. I know I'm missing a couple more. What's going on?
Well, the one thing that we have to take under consideration with Ben Roethlisberger is he's old. Ben has just about had it. So those hits that he's taking now, I mean, he took those hits 7-8 years ago, and he would bounce back. He's not taking those hits now. Not to mention, Ben has been less effective this season as he's ever been. I think Ben has averaged something like 6 yards per throw, which is bad. Now, Carson Wentz, we've seen Carson Wentz over the last 3 years. His play and his style of play, it's reckless. That's who he is. Now, for a guy to have both ankles sprained, I mean, that's rare. But he's the guy who plays reckless, and his body is not built for that. So for a guy like him to be beat up, I'm not surprised, number one. Number two, I don't know how much longer he's going to last, Tone. I'll be honest if I said, Carson's going to hold up for another 5 or 6 years. At this rate, I don't think so. I do not think he's going to last this. I don't think he's going to last much longer at this rate.
The Colts may have another surprise retirement here pretty soon if because you can't. I've been reckless. I've never been able to sprain both my ankles.
Both of them, Tone.
Both of them. Never. And I've tried. But I want to go back. I want to go back to Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers because during the offseason, they made a decision. They went with a never before, no experience. I know he was within the organization, but they promoted Matt Canada to be their offensive coordinator. They had an opportunity to get a very veteran OC who had been an offensive coach of the year in that division. They chose instead not to. Do you see this being more of a Ben and kind of it's that old kind of Peyton Manning when he went to Denver arm issue, or are you seeing issues with the offense? Because outside of Ben, who I agree is old and probably a little bit more nicked up than we know, they've got talent. They've got Najee Harris in the backfield. They've got Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson. I know he's hurt right now, but Deontay Johnson, James Washington. Like, they have talent on offense. Do you see an offense that needs readjusting, or is it 100% on the quarterback?
I do believe. Well, I think it's a combination of the two. I mean, they don't run the football like they used to because they lost their star running back from last season. Now, I think it's more on the quarterback being a primary ball handler in Ben, who I wouldn't put him in that same category with Manning because Manning was washed when he went to Denver. That defense was stout, and it was obvious that Peyton was not close to what he used to be. And if he could just hold up and just be, not even be solid, but not kill us, we were going to win. Well, that's the story with Ben because that defense that they have is good enough. They got the best. They got one of the best pass rushers in the game. They got the best pass rusher in the game. That offense with Juju is he's one of the best wideouts in the game. But the problem is we need Ben to just be solid, and he hasn't been. And because he hasn't been, it makes the offense look like there's a glaring hole. And because there is, which would be Ben Roethlisberger, that's why they look the way they do.
So for those of you that might be just tuning in and thinking, why is Fluent and Chill talking basketball? This is the NFL edition. I don't know that I mentioned it at the beginning. And I'm going to stick on Pittsburgh for one more second, and then we're going to get onto this week's slate of games. Because you're right about Ben. He might not be the guy. There's another really big, mobile, strong quarterback. Kind of dresses a little funny sometimes, but I like him. Is Pittsburgh making a call to Cam?
Well,
should they make a call to Cam?
I don't think that they should make a call to Cam strictly because this is a fire. Pittsburgh is not one of those teams that they have a quick fix. Ben Roethlisberger has been their quarterback for 16 years, all right, 17 years. So they don't. If he's
hurt, the assumption is, let's say he's hurt and can't play.
Well, he got hurt. Was it 2 years ago? And they went with
Mason Rudolph.
They went with Mason Rudolph. So Pittsburgh is a very Pittsburgh is a very internal organization. They very much stick to what works and stick to who they have. I mean, coach has been there for the last 15 years. The quarterback has been there for 17 years. Now, I am not under the impression that there are 32 quarterbacks in the NFL better than Cam Newton. You're not going to sell me that. Now, I do think that he's going to get a call at some point, but it has to work. But I don't think Pittsburgh is the place, no.
Okay. Because for me, I think I get it about their whole internal thing, right? They've only had 3 head coaches in their history of their franchise, which is amazing. That being said, when I look at what Ben was and what Cam is today, because Cam isn't MVP Cam today, but what he still is a big quarterback who can escape pressure, can get the ball downfield, and can run when he have to. And that's really at his best. That's what Ben was, right? He was so difficult to sack. He found ways to get the ball out, and he could run if he, like, I wouldn't, bet him on in a horse race, but if he had to get out and run for a little, he could. Again, it didn't look pretty, but he could. So that's why I just think I'm looking at this as the Steelers their window's closing. I think their window's closing, and they have an opportunity where in their division, the Bengals, here's what I mean. The Bengals are up and coming, but they're not great. The Ravens look good, and then they look terrible. They look good. Like, I don't know what Ravens team I'm going to get from week to week. The Browns, you know how I feel about the Browns, but the Browns don't look – listen, I think they'll get better as the season progresses. But now they lost Jarvis Landry. Odell Beckham's coming in it's almost like the two couldn't coexist, which I don't know that that's true or not. But so now Odell's coming in. You still, you don't know what Cleveland is. They always seem to find a way. We're going to see this week with Cleveland. So there's still an opportunity to win that division.
That window is still open. Yeah, it is.
And that window's open. So why wouldn't you go for it? Why wouldn't you take a chance? It's not like their playbook is really complex. Like to say that Cam went to the Patriots, couldn't figure out the playbook that first season because it's insane, right? I think that's an offense he could step right into and improve. And at the end of the day, you want to win. So I'm probably with you that they won't. Yeah, I'm probably with you that they won't, but I think they should.
That was my biggest concern too, Tone, with him coming in. We're talking week 3, week 4. I got to get acclimated to a brand new offense, especially with a team that's trying to do something, right? So when he's in New England, he had the whole season to learn that offense, and he struggled. So now I'm going to throw Cam in with the Pittsburgh Steelers at week 5, and he's got to learn that offense. He doesn't really know what they're doing. You've already mentioned this to me, Tone. How big is the playbook?
Depends on the playbook. The Steelers' playbook is smaller than the Patriots' playbook, so it'll be easier. But yeah, I get it. You got to learn on the fly. All right, so let's jump to this week. We already talked a little bit Panthers and Texans. We both think Panthers, as long as they don't take this one for granted, they could be the first 3-0 team. But what matchup, when you're kind of looking up and down the schedule, which one kind of pops out to you the most?
I'm really interested in this Tampa Rams game. And the reason why I'm interested in this Tampa Rams game is because I saw what happened last season, and I can appreciate what Tampa did. This was their first season. Tom had just gotten there. Antonio Brown, because everybody talks about what Jameis did with that group. Well, they completely left out that was a completely different group with Tom. That wasn't the same guys. Mike Evans was there, yeah, but he didn't have Godwin. He didn't have Antonio Brown. He didn't have a lot of these guys. So now Tom Brady has these guys, and that season they were still getting acclimated to each other. So now, and not only were they still getting acclimated to each other, there were a lot of mistakes. And they go and they play the Rams. The Rams come to town last season in Tampa, and they handled them. They kept Tom pretty much in check. They handled Godwin. They handled Mike Evans. So they didn't really do much. Meanwhile, guys like Cooper Kupp and Robert
Woods,
that's what I'm thinking about. I'm sorry, Tom. Robert Woods. They went off on those guys. And Jared Goff went for almost 400 yards. Now, exit Jared Goff and bring in Matthew Stafford, who I think is a better quarterback. And we have a different recipe now. So I'm really interested to see how Tampa handles that Rams offense, even with the same 11 guys that they brought back from last season. I'm really interested to see how they handle that. And by the way, Tom Brady, it's his first game as a professional in Los Angeles.
Really? I did not know that. Look at that. Well, this is, and it's beautiful new stadium. I think part of the reason they made the change, although Goff played well against Tampa, but I think part of the reason they made the change from Goff to Stafford was they wanted a little bit more explosive offense. Even though Goff looks actually good in Detroit offensively. Yep. Anyways, obviously Detroit's, they've put up some points on two good teams. That being said, the Rams are probably the team that I was the lowest of the teams that are expected to be really good. The Rams were the team that I was the lowest on coming into the season because I just didn't. Yeah, I don't like Stafford. Like I said to you, I've seen him, 2 times a year for 12 years, and I didn't think he could do it. And you know what? 2 weeks in, I'll say that I'm wrong. I think the Rams are the team that have the best opportunity to knock off the Bucs, mainly because of their defense. Obviously, that's the How do we beat Tom Brady? There's a blueprint. I know it. You know it. Everybody knows it. The only way to beat Tom Brady is to get to him. If you hit him, if you sack him, if you knock him down, he's going to have a crappy game. And even if he's 18-0 going into the Super Bowl, if you put pressure on him, he's losing that game.
That's a fact.
So that's what the Rams can do, right? So they've got that front seven. They got a good defensive back. Like, they've got all the pieces to stop that offense, and they're lucky this week because I think Antonio Brown's obviously going to be out with COVID, but they still have Godwin and Mike Evans and pieces, right? Antonio Brown has become a bigger piece. Gronk looks like he's the Gronk of old.
Yes, he does.
So this is a game that's really going to be an interesting one. I think the Rams actually win this game. And kind of set that message that, and you know what Tom's going to say right after they lose. He's not going to shake Matthew Stafford's hand. He's going to walk by. He's going to walk by him and say, "See you in the playoffs." And that's the one you got to worry about, is that game in the playoffs. But listen, the Rams have looked really good, and like I said, Matthew Stafford has looked really good. I want to see him in a close game because that has always been his thing, the close games.
Yes,
and he's not good in close games. He's got more weapons than he ever has. I understand that part. So. That's going to be.
Is a lot different too, Tone, in Los Angeles.
Sean McVay is a better offensive mind than what he dealt with all the different coaches in Detroit.
Yeah.
That being said, I got to tell you, I know this is a scheduling thing, and we don't normally talk about schedules, but how do you put the Bucs and the Rams at 4:00? How do you not flex that to prime time?
You know why you don't flex that to prime time, Tone? Because my Niners are on tonight. That's why we play Green Bay tonight.
Oh, is that another important game you want to talk about?
Yes, in fact, since we on that subject, let's discuss that. My Niners, Green Bay is coming to the Bay this weekend, and I think we got a really good shot against Green Bay. The interior defense and that defensive line, the defensive line in particular for Green Bay, I think they can be had. I'm looking at what they do. I don't think that they pass block very good. I think we can definitely handle them. And I think Jimmy G can be really effective against them. I think that Aaron Rodgers can also be had because they don't pass block on offense very well. So I think he can definitely be got. And just so you know, Tone, Aaron Rodgers, 5 and 6 in the Bay Area. Whenever he comes in, I don't know what it is neither. I can't tell you.
Maybe he has too many like old friends and family there, being from there. It's listen, I've done this. It is actually, people think, hey, going home, you get to play at home, and it's really no, man. There's a lot of pressure when you go back home, whether it be tickets, people wanting to see you. Like, there's stuff that people don't realize you got to deal with, and there is an added pressure to play well, which then sometimes backfires on you because you're trying a little too hard versus just playing. That being said, man, Green Bay has looked like a different team in week 2. And I love seeing Aaron Rodgers because he always comes out so like it's cocky. I want to say cool, but it's not. It's this, you guys were talking about me. You don't know what happens in the locker room. You don't know what happens in our team. Like, just stop. Why do they give you guys, a platform to talk? You know nothing about what's going on. And he's just so kind of, that's why he slipped in the draft. It's the only reason Green Bay even got him, because they were kind of like, he's a bit arrogant, and they just let him drop. But you know what? He always takes it. I remember a few years back, remember the whole RELAX, just relax. We're making the playoffs. And sure enough, they made the playoffs.
They did.
So I am concerned about the San Francisco. I think San Francisco is the better team, but I think obviously when you're looking at quarterback, Green Bay's got the better quarterback.
Yes,
When
they
you're looking
do.
at receiver, right? Obviously Devontae Adams. So they've got that kind of 1-2 punch. Kittle hasn't on the San Francisco side hasn't looked like Kittle from a pass catching perspective,
Mhm.
but has looked like the best blocker I've ever seen from a tight end ever. He's on a mission to just knock people's head off. So my big concern is the running game. Now I know Kyle Shanahan, you throw me in there and we'll somehow rack up 100 yards.
Right.
Are you concerned though that it's this kind of revolving door of running backs again, and does it start this plague of injuries with the 49ers like last year?
I do, Tone, because what we don't have is we don't have consistency at the running back, right? So if we have a guy back there, I'm over the notion that you got a guy in the backfield that's going to be carrying the ball for you for 10 years, and I think that guy is gone. But if we could get some consistency, so Elijah Mitchell, he's solid. Can he hold up? He's great in the flat. He's great in the eye. He's great in formation. He looks great. So the question is can he hold up in that offense physically? Because if he can, I think he can be solid for us for the rest of the season. And then we bring in Sermon, who I was a big fan of Sermon when he was at Ohio State. The question with Sermon, which is also an issue, can he hold up? That's the main issue with the running back core that we have, because the offense with the revolving door, I don't like it. I'm not a huge fan of it, Tone, because I would like to see some more consistency with a 1 or 2 back set. But I would like to see these guys hold up a little bit more. And if they can do that, I think San Francisco will be fine.
I want to see a lot more. I want to see a lot more Trey Lance is what I want to see.
Here we go.
I want to see more Trey Lance.
I always want to hear that. I want to see a lot more, because you already got your wish, Tone. Okay, you already got your wish in Chicago, because
right.
You already got your wish.
I didn't want it that way. I would never wish an injury on anyone. But yeah, I'm happy that Justin Fields will be starting this week. I think we'll come back to the Niners here in a second. I think they're going to surprise everyone. I think they're going to beat the Browns. It's going to be a close one. It's going to be a very low-scoring game, but I think you're going to see Justin Fields. Listen, he's going to make some rookie mistakes that make you scratch your head, but then he's going to make some plays that go, oh yeah, that's why they drafted him.
My issue, Tone, is the same issue that I had with your Bears. I don't want to ruin this kid. So if Justin Fields is your guy, and when he starts making mistakes, you got to stick with him.
Oh yeah, got to stick with him.
If you're yanking him in and out of the lineup, you're going to screw him up. And I feel the same way about Trey. If he's our guy moving forward, we got to stick with him through the good and the bad. And that's not going on right now, because this yanking him in and out of the lineup, you're going to screw him up. And I'm not interested in that.
So you don't think again, assuming they're all on board with this, like having those packages and saying, hey, we're going to play you in these situations to get you acclimated to because we believe in you. We're going to put you into these situations. Like I think, I do compare it to the Bears. What Matt Nagy did, I think, in week 1, where he put Justin Fields, I think they were Andy Dalton had previously thrown an interception in the end zone. Later on in the game, Justin Fields goes in, legs right, runs it in himself for a touchdown. Like those are the kind of packages where you say, hey, we're going to put you into those kinds of situations where you can succeed and get kind of your feet wet. That's what I'm saying. I don't think you start Trey Lance today, but I think to see him get in a couple more packages, get in a couple more plays just to see what he can do, I think is a good thing, because it adds a different dynamic to that offense, which they've got a lot of wrinkles in that offense. So why not use them? Okay. I'm going to do pick 3 with you. So I'm going to pick up. I'm just randomly going to pick 3 games. Let you pick who you got in that game. I'll pick who we think will be the game, and that's how we'll end it. So we talked about a few of the games. So let's just pick. Let's see, what's a good one. Chargers. I went so it must be good. Chargers and Chiefs. Both 1-1. 2 great young quarterbacks. Obviously, Mahomes a little bit more accomplished so far, but one that has a defense. The Chiefs not so much. Chiefs coming off a surprising loss. And now people, of course, you know how it is. Oh, one loss. Oh, they're done. Mahomes they're finished. They're out.
They're not making the playoffs. They got to trade Patrick Mahomes. It's terrible.
Yeah,
absolutely. So when I look at this group and I look at what Justin Herbert is doing, And Justin Herbert still, I mean, this is only his second year, so he has made some mistakes, but he is so dynamic. And that defense, especially that secondary in Kansas City, can be had. If Justin Herbert can just limit his mistakes and not make big mistakes. Because I watched them last weekend. I mean, they had 2 touchdowns called back. I mean, he did throw a big pick in the middle of that, but they had 2 touchdowns called back. They very well should have beat the Cowboys.
Yeah.
If you put Justin Herbert in situations where, you know, he's rolling to the right, I think he's better when he's in the gun rolling to the right and throwing than any other quarterback, with the exception of Patrick Mahomes, because he's so athletic and of course Lamar Jackson. But I just think that offensively, Kansas City is just too much. That aerial attack, because that's all it is with them. It's an aerial attack. That aerial attack is just too much, and I think they're going to be too much for the Chargers.
If the Chiefs were 2-0 coming into this game and everything else was the same, I would have said this is a trap game for the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have picked the Chargers to be the team that upsets them. Because the Chiefs lost last week, you're going to see a very focused Chiefs team, and they're going to win this game. And I think the line is 6.5. I think they cover and some. Because of the loss. That's the only reason. Like I said, if they won, I'd be saying something completely different. So
you think they handle them? You think
I think they handle them. I think it's close in the first half, and then the Chiefs just kind of put the pedal down. Just again, they're trying to prove a point, and they can't go out and lose 2 in a row. They can't. Now the Chargers, right? Not that the Chargers can lose 2 in a row, but young quarterback, they feel like they kind of got robbed a little bit last week. Like, do they come in and say, "Oh man, you know, we got had last week. We should have had that." And if they do that, which is common, it happens, where they focus on what could have been last week, I think they're going to find themselves, looking forward to week 4 to get out of that game. Another one is interesting because we talked a little bit about the Saints, but the Saints and the Patriots, and you've got a Saints team that looked great in week 1, looked terrible in week 2. And they're going up against a Patriots team that lost to the Dolphins, but then then they win in week 2. So you've got these kind of teams on different ends of what's going on. Bill Belichick never tends to lose to rookie quarterbacks, so I wasn't surprised they won last week. I don't think a rookie quarterback has ever beaten. If they have, it's so I'm not saying Jameis Winston is a rookie quarterback,
right?
But the Patriots are the type of team that can give him fits, and we could see multiple interceptions again.
I don't know.
Is that what you're seeing this week? Or?
No, I don't think we're seeing multiple interceptions. I think, and I said this to you earlier in the show, Tone, we underestimated how good Carolina is. I think we underestimate how good they are defensively. I don't think that we're going to see the same effort from Jameis against the Patriots. I think that Patriots secondary can be had. I think that now I will tell you this. The Patriots get to the quarterback. They absolutely do that. Of all the things that I've seen over the last 2 weeks, they definitely get to the quarterback. And Mac Jones, and I know that it's early, so I'm not going to jump the gun here, but he looks like a seasoned pro, Tone. He looks like he's in command of that offense. He looks like he's in command of that huddle. So the difference in this game, in my opinion, I think it's going to be how Jameis takes care of the football and how the Saints run the football. If they get Kamari if they get him more involved in the offense than they did last week. And if they do that, I think that they got a really good shot in winning.
The fact that people are asking, is Kamara done? I mean, guys, it's week 2. It's going to take time to get things going. I laugh. People overreact so much. No. So we're going to end it on the Monday nighter, right? It's a division matchup. It's a team in the Eagles that surprised us a little bit. It's the Cowboys who got their win. But like we said with the Chargers, but there's some questions. They could easily be 0-2. So now we've got Eagles and Cowboys on Monday night. Who do you got? What do you expect to see?
Well, I'll tell you what, Tone. I think that Eagles team is a lot better than what people are giving them credit for. I think Hurts, when I'm watching Hurts, and I heard a really good comparison, he kind of looks like Warren Moon back there. And I'm looking at him. Yeah, I'm looking at him going, you know what? That looks pretty accurate. He kind of does look like Warren Moon. And that receiving core that he has, I'm a huge Devontae Smith guy. I think that he's just phenomenal. The ball just finds him. He knows his routes. he's just going to get better. That defense that they have, especially their pass defense, their pass rush in particular, it's really good. And that can be had, but the problem that Philadelphia has is I don't think offensively they can match Dallas. Dallas has way too much. I think Dallas has way too many weapons. This notion that Pollard is better than Zeke. I think I'm not jumping out of that window. Absolutely not. I think that the Cowboys offensively, I think they're going to be just too much for Philadelphia. And I don't think that they win going away, but I think they handle Philadelphia.
All right, so you got the Chiefs winning that game. You've got this. Sorry, do you got the Patriots or the Saints? I don't know that I got your answer.
Patriots.
You got the Patriots. I'm on the Patriots as well. I think they actually win.
You think they smoke the Saints?
I think they win running away with on the Saints. And I think you're right. I think the Cowboys in a high scoring but a close one. I think the Cowboys take the Eagles as well.
I'm changing my pick, Tone. I got the Saints. You got
the Saints?
I'm taking New Orleans. I think they handle New England.
They handle New England.
I think they handle them.
All right, we're gonna keep this on tape. I don't know what bet we're gonna make, but next week I'm gonna gloat if the Patriots win. If the Saints win, we won't be talking about it at all. All right, so that's it for this week. A big slate of games. Don't forget to check out Fluent and Chill Wednesdays, the NBA edition. Obviously, you see this, the NFL edition on Fridays. And don't forget, if you're on TikTok, Mondays at 8 p.m., come and join us live. Ask questions, get involved in the conversation. Mm-hmm. I'm Anthony K of Sports Fluent. He's Jermaine of Chilltown Hoops. Until next week.
Take it light.